So this is where it all began. $700, crank no start, no fuel pressure, and completely unbeknownst to me, an engine that was completely out of time. The plan? Well, there wasn't much of one, just a growing list of problems to solve and a hunger to share the journey with you all. First it was the fuel pump, getting it out of the car so I could bench test it, only to figure out it was perfectly fine. I figured next it was time to tackle the fuel filter, and of course, a little gas to the face keeps the doctor away. And now with the old fuel drained out, a fresh tank of gas, fuel pressure at the rail that's well within spec, it was time to move towards the front of the car and start diagnosing with Volvo's diagnostic software. And after arriving at the conclusion that the ECM was not communicating with the rest of the car, I shipped it off to Canada only for it to arrive back in my hands after passing all tests with no faults. So now, it was time to check the car's timing. Getting to the timing on this thing isn't a 5-minute job. It's layer after layer just to see what's going on, just to reach those timing marks to even know if I'm in time or not. Bracing off, intake off, mounts loosened, harnesses unclipped, brackets, tensioners, all that plastic crap that Volvo loves to hide everything behind. All of it has to go. It's not straightforward. Every bolt's buried under something else. Some are stuck, some are missing, one's always stripped. And by this point, you're second guessing everything the whole time. Is this even necessary? Am I making it worse? Is this thing ever gonna drive? I don't know. But one thing I do know is that the only way forward is through, so I just keep digging. I keep taking things apart. And by the time I have the belt off, I'm knee deep, and I know that there's only one way through this. And that's to keep pushing despite the fact that I am far out of my comfort zone by this point. After binge watching what I would say is practically every video on YouTube about Volvo's variable valve timing, this was the moment of truth. I wanted to give this car the absolute best chance at life again. I wanted to see this car on the road. So after a well-deserved oil change, it was time. For the very first time since owning this car, it was actually showing signs of life and wanting to start. It cranked and it coughed, but that was it. I sat there asking myself, did I mess something up? Was this all for nothing? Truth be told, I felt like I was way in over my head. I wanted to give it one last shot with brand new coil packs and spark plugs. So, as you can probably hear, we did actually get it running, so I'm pretty freaking excited to see what we do from here. So now the engine was alive, but barely. Misfiring and stumbling, it was time to see if it could move under its own power. After years of sitting, the car had dug itself into the ground, literally. It was so down on power that it struggled to move itself under its own weight. And after doing what seemed like a 32-point turn, it was time to diagnose that misfire. We had a running engine, but one that was running on 3 cylinders at best. And in my usual habit of throwing parts of the car without knowing what's actually wrong, I decided, hey, let's replace all 5 injectors and see what happens. But sure enough, the injectors were not the issue. So, to an extent, we're right back at square one. Well, not quite square one as the car runs, which is more than I could say a few weeks ago. But at the end of the day, we're still running on 3 cylinders, and that's not sustainable. So after hooking the car back up to Vita, I came to realize that we were misfiring on 2 cylinders, cylinder 1 and cylinder 2. At this point, I did not know why, but I did have a few suspicions. My theory was that even after retiming the engine, it was still slightly off and thus causing the misfire on those 2 first cylinders. At the end of the day, that was my very first time retiming an engine, so it was well within the realm of possibility that I did do it incorrectly. So after revising the timing, it was still running pretty rough. I called up my good friend Mikey, and together we started poking around the engine bay to try and figure out that misfire. Which makes sense, because I did all of this, because it's a very notorious problem, all this wiring just With the multimeter, I came to realize that I was getting proper voltage on all 5 coils, so this wasn't a lack of power or an issue with the circuitry. But I did want to see for myself if I was getting spark. So I had him crank over the car while I looked at the spark plug. And sure enough, we were getting spark, so I had one last thing to try. And sure enough, after all this time and throwing parts at the car, it was just 2 coil pack wires that were swapped around. And that was it. We had a win. I fixed the misfire. We were running on all 5 cylinders. But then, disaster struck.